Wow, it's hard to believe it's been 3 years since that show was actually filmed. We filmed it in January 3 years ago. It's uh, it's been quite an adventure. So thank you for joining us on the after showing party here we're having at the Homestead. We're going to have some conversations and show you a little bit behind the scenes on the Hanson family filming the reality TV show Homestead Rescues Honey, I Torched the Homestead. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hanson. I'm glad you guys tuned in after the show. I promised my viewers, gave you a preview of what we intended to do, and that is show a behind the scenes look at a Discovery Channel reality TV show episode that was filmed right here on Pine Meadows Hobby Farm featuring my family. My daughter, Jamie, my wife, Becky, my son, Jeremy, and myself. We spent about 2 weeks filming this episode, and we got to know the Rainey family quite well, along with the production crew. So hang out with us, and we're going to share some a little behind the scenes. Some of them are pretty funny. I have to admit, we were struggling as homesteaders because we had only been on the homestead for 2 years and we hadn't quite got acclimated to the environment because we'd moved from another homestead a mile down the road up to this location. So we were still gonna, putting things in. This was the property we moved to was a disaster. I had to build it up in spite of having a disability, but I did it. Little by little, bit by bit. It was going slow, but there was things I was still learning, things I was failing at. But what homesteader does not have their challenges? If you say you have no challenges and you've never failed, I question that. Every homesteader, everybody, every homeowner has challenges. Yes, there's challenges, and believe you me, some of us have more challenges than others, like us. I'm not ashamed to share with you guys some of the challenges we met while filming the show. Yes, we had some challenges while filming the show. And let me take you on a journey on first day. The day before the first day, we had an epic snowstorm. I mean, it snowed like crazy. We've had the most snow I personally had ever seen living up here in this region for ever. And this was an overnight dump. I think we experienced 18 inches of snow overnight, and it was epic. The film crew was due in the next day to begin filming. We had some challenges with the epic snowstorm because there was so much snow piled up on the roof of the carport that it began to start to collapse. And then the film crew came in and they needed to move some RVs off site so they can get a better visual with their camera to get a nice pan of the homestead, which I understood. So when they first came and looked at the place, we had dry ground, just like what you see right now, clear and dry. But the night before they showed up, it snowed like crazy, and then they were hit with many challenges for the snow. So we understood they had to make some changes throughout the episode because of the inclement weather. I'm gonna let Jeremy explain this one for you.
So we were preparing for the film crew to show up.
and we had a epic snowstorm hit. That made it for, it was a little, what's the word? Inconvenient. It made it made a bit of an inconvenience, and we were in the middle of shoveling snow off of our carport that had collapsed when the crew had showed up. For a better filming view, we have some RVs that were on site. They needed to take those out of the picture, and while taking them out of the picture, they were coming up this little hill right behind us, and a little bit slippery, but spun the tires coming up and backed the trailer right down into the little creek here. As a matter of fact, the day before the film crew arrived, I was taking my car up the hill and I slid back, and I couldn't make the hill, just this tiny little hill, I couldn't make it, and I slid back, and I slid back just the day before in my vehicle. Well, I had, the day before I had used AAA to get my vehicle out, so I gave them that option. However, they wanted to see if they could get the RV out without doing the AAA. So they had another four-wheel drive on site, so they hooked it up to the truck. That was insufficient still. We had a neighbor who also had a four-wheel drive. We had two vehicles in front of the one vehicle towing the trailer. That was still insufficient, so we got a third vehicle in front of the vehicle that was stuck. And it was the gentleman that catered the film crew, and catered the filming. He had a four-wheel drive, so he took the lead and took in total four-wheel drives to get the trailer out of the ditch. Three 4x4 trucks hooked up to that trailer, and not one of them is able to get that trailer out of the creek. They need a truck with a winch on the front. They got it. They got it out of the ditch.
Well, that's one way to do it.
So yeah, one of the scenes was filmed right here with the Hanson family gathered around the pond. And what we were doing is my greatest fear is wildfires, getting caught up in wildfires. We only basically have one way out. And when they interviewed us for the show, they asked me what our hardships were, and what kept coming to light was my fear of wildfires and getting caught up in wildfires. So we had filmed a scene here because the Rainies wanted to put my fire escape plan to the test. And I am so glad he put it to the test, because, you know, this is a reality show and we were not acting, we were reacting to the scenarios that were laid before us. Since they had asked me, well, what are my plans of escape? I showed them plan A is to duck into the duck pond to get away from the flames if we had to. Come to find out that wasn't a good idea, and they pointed it out in the show. And then as we went through the scene, we had a surprise. And I'll let Jeremy cover that for you. So as they were evacuating us out of the staged forest fire, they took us out into this field here, and they had the local fire district. They came and assisted with a bunch of their smoke machines, so it created the illusion that there was a forest fire. So those smoke machines get to be pretty loud, and you know, they're just trying to keep us in the scene. You know, we're not acting. They're trying to keep this as real as possible. So this is not supposed to be acting. So we go out here and we're just trying to figure out, okay, what's next? And all of a sudden the smoke starts to clear, and right through the smoke comes down a helicopter, and that was very surprising, but very exciting.
So as I saw the helicopter come in for our land, I just like my heart jumped. It was like helicopters. That's have been a lifelong dream of mine. I've loved helicopters. That was one time one of my dreams to fly helicopters. I never got to be in a helicopter and just the whole experience. But then as we're filming the scene, Marty Rainey's just like he's taking it with her. He's like, knock that smile off your face. This is serious. So at that point, I had to jump out of reality and start acting.
So in preparation for wildfires, when we moved in, I started clearing out the land at least 100 feet around all the dwellings. Well, I began by doing it 50 feet around the dwellings because every year we have wildfires. We average about 3, like Jeremy said, every single year within a 10-mile radius of the homestead. Yep. So we're accustomed to it and we're aware of it, and as homesteaders or even an individual living in a rural property, we're trying to take steps to mitigate the dangers of wildfire creeping up and destroying our outbuildings, even our home.
Yeah, I knew we were very active with forest fires in the area, but I didn't know that we were the hotbed of the United States for wildfires. So that was pretty eye-opening. I grew up with the threat of wildfires, having a fire within miles of me throughout the years and having evacuated several times. I just didn't think about it, that we were in our geographical location, the hotbed center of the United States for wildfire, but it does make sense. It is ironic, having experienced all these wildfires throughout the years, that I chose the vocation as a wildland firefighter, and I've been doing that quite a few years now.
Yeah. There was some misunderstandings or misstatements that were made in the show. One of them was we don't eat our animals. And I've got to say that we do eat our animals because we've been harvesting our chickens and our ducks for years. I've been raising chickens and ducks and rabbits for years, but at that point I had never processed a rabbit. And since we were so new to this homestead, we've only been here 2 years, my YouTube channel was really new. We had only been on YouTube for like 2 years, a year and a half. So that's basically how we got noticed by the casting office, who invited us to audition for the reality show for Discovery Channel. I'd never heard of the reality show. I mean, look at us. We live in the wilderness. We don't even have cell signal out here, so I don't own a cell phone. We get no TV signal. I'm such a cheapskate. In my Pine Meadows hobby farm, a frugal homestead, consider the title frugal. Yeah, I'm a penny pincher. I don't want to buy Dish Network. I don't want to buy any other satellite TV network. If I can't get it cheap or free, we just ain't going to get it at all. We do have a phone line, hardwire phone line, and I was able to get high-speed internet because they installed a fiber optic internet up here and made a package real affordable and real reasonable for us, and that's how I'm able to get these shows out to your my audience, to you guys, on a timely manner because of the high-speed internet. Before, we were having to go down to the city, sit at say McDonald's and use their high-speed internet and upload our stuff. Yeah, that was bothersome. So with that said, being so new, we were having problems with predators because I hadn't quite gotten the fencing finished yet. So the Rainies helped us out with some electric fencing. I acquired some more fencing through helping my neighbors with their fencing, and they gave me the leftover fencing that I was able to finish my fencing and keep it frugal. Yeah, free. Free is good. And since I've gotten the fencing finished, we have not had a predator problem since. We've been able to harvest our animals.
So there was some behind the scenes that didn't get on the show with the butchering of the rabbit. I am an animal lover, but I also know that I don't feel very good if I'm not eating meat, so I know protein's important, and I appreciate the animals. Yeah, so the one thing you didn't see with the rabbit is when I took the rabbit out, I had a moment where I was holding the rabbit and I said a little prayer, and I thanked it for, you know, what it was giving to us, the sustenance, and I thank God for the provision. And we all got a little teared up, you know, before we were able to dispatch the rabbit. And I think that it's important to be thankful and grateful for what you're provided with. And we all got a little teary-eyed, but, you know, we were humane with it, had a good life, and when it was dispatched, we enjoyed the meal and we're grateful. So since the show, we did acquire some hogs, and we were able to butcher them and put them in the freezer. So now we have something, you know, to depend on. So we did have our freezer breakdown, so we had to go ahead and get a new freezer. We resourced this one from our neighbor. So this is what's left, the hogs that went to freezer camp.
Now, I could not have put that any other way, Jamie. That was brilliant. Thank you. So a couple of more behind the scene things here. Jonna McIvers was one of the producers for the show that was on set. And the show was evolving as they went, and they were making changes in midstream. Apparently they already had a plan of what they were going to do, but they had to change things up, primarily because of the weather and because what they determined what the most imminent need was for the family. So they were scrambling, and they did a superb job at pulling this together. And one of the things was, Jonna came up to me, he goes, like, he explained that we have to make some changes, but this one change, he said, that we're making, it's going to save your life. And Jonna, I'm not sure what you were talking about, if it was the greenhouse. Yes, that saved our lives, because we had to make a radical change in our nutrition. My wife was really sick. You didn't realize it, but she was ill through the filming of the show. But not that ill, but we were able to get through it. And then we were able to get her on a new nutritional plan, requiring lots of salads, and she is much better now. She is able to reverse her condition because of nutrition. So Jonna, if you were right on that, spot on. But if you were referring to putting the new roof on the homestead, that too was spot on, because after we got the new metal roof on the homestead to protect the house from wildfires and burning embers, the following summer and the summer after that, we had some really close calls. I mean, really close calls with wildfires. One of them was just right over that ridge, and it was blowing this way, and we had hot embers coming down and landing on, yes, the roof of the house. So if that's what Jonna was referring to, yeah, it literally saved our life. Plus, they're testing us on our evacuation skills. We honed the skills since then. We've created alternative plans of escape. And we don't wait anymore to get the hell out of Dodge. If there's a fire creeping nearby and it's coming towards us, we're gone. We're out of here. And yeah, that was a saving grace. One of the things that it really stands out to me that I took from this whole adventure of filming this reality show and learning the tips and tricks of the trade of homesteading from the Rainies. Marty Rainey taught me some pretty cool tricks with like cutting metal with a saw blade and with a drywall knife. I was able to implement that in the building of my barn, and also my new billy goat barn that I built this last summer. Techniques that work. They're absolutely great.
I was really surprised when we were trying to work with all the snow that we had. I was kind of wondering how in the world we're going to build anything with all the snow. And then they pulled out this blowtorch for the snow. And I just thought that was genius. I'm going, oh, so that's how you do it. You know, they're from Alaska, so they know how to build things when it's snowing, obviously, and something I never thought of. So using the blowtorch was cool. So what was really neat about building the greenhouse is I got to use a bunch of power tools I'd never used before. I got to cut wood with a skill saw. I got to use a blowtorch. I got to hammer things, screw things in. I just thought that was a lot of fun. So I do have to admit, it was really scary being way up on a ladder and trying to do things with the roof. It was really scary, but you know, I still was able to do some work up there. So I felt like I accomplished something, kind of getting over one of my fears. Didn't fall off the ladder, so that was a good thing. Thought it was really neat that Misty just jumps in there. She kind of sees what's going on and just kind of jumps in and starts doing what needs to be done. You don't see that a lot with a girl going in there with the guys. I thought that was pretty cool, something that I could appreciate.
Let's go in the house and get some feedback from Becky to see what she has to say about her adventures with the Homestead Rescue series and all these people coming through the house.
I'd like to thank the viewers for their kind comments and understanding about my nervousness about being on camera. At the time, I was working up the courage for us to do a coffee chat together when we received the invitation to do Homestead Rescue. Because you and the kids wanted to do it, and I didn't want you guys to be disappointed. And so, with great trepidation, I agreed to do it. It wasn't easy, as I have extreme stage fright, and it wasn't just a step out of my comfort zone, it was miles and miles out of my comfort zone.
One thing I remember is at the last day, everything was finalized. The film crew had put away their cameras. We were standing around. Jamie was having a conversation with Misty. Jeremy was over here having a conversation with Matt. And I was having a nice conversation with Marty. And we were talking and just, trying to tie up loose ends, and we still stay connected through the years. I just spoke with Marty here last week. Anyway, one of the directors, his name is Peter. Through the whole 2 weeks he was in our home, in and out and around, he was directing. There was two directors. There was Peter and there was Keith. Keith was from Dublin, Ireland. Peter was from, I think, originally from Ireland, but they come from London or England. Jonna comes from England. Some of the film crew comes from England. And a lot of the crew comes from all over the United States, from Los Angeles, from Chicago, from New York, from Florida. We had some from south of France. It was a wonderful team that they pulled together. It was Raw TV, who was the production company that actually put this together. And Envy Editing was the editing company that did all the magic to make us look brilliant and also make us look stupid. With that said, as Peter was walking down the driveway, never to see him again, I asked him, by the way, Peter, what is your last name? And he goes, oh, it's Campion, just like champion. It's like, oh, okay. So I went to my computer and Googled Peter Campion. Interesting. Here's this guy in my house for 2 weeks, didn't know who he was. Of course, I still wouldn't have known who he was because he's this big-time movie star in Europe. And who knew? And Jonna McIvers, he's got an award-winning movie he did called A Boy and His Dog, something like that. I'll leave a link at the end of the show for you guys to be, or down below for you guys to be able to see that. Brilliant young man. And then also Keith, our our main director, they are all brilliant. They did a wonderful job. They were very kind. There are some situations they were gentle with us. And I have to admit, I didn't mind at all looking stupid for your sake. Seriously. Whatever light they showed me, I was willing to allow that to happen, because I know that there was some situations, some things that were said. We knew what we meant when we said them, but the editors and the film crew and the directors did not know, because they didn't have that information. They just took what they had and put it together. As is like what my wife mentioned here in the front at the introduction of the show, was we don't eat our animals. She didn't finish saying the predators eat our animals, because we were not able to do that. We did a fire drill right here in the front, right here, with our Subaru. And there was smoke going everywhere, and we were fleeing into the car, and it was just, it was the fire drill. And the camera caught me. Now this is all, we were reacting to the situation. There was no acting at all. There was no script. And so my daughter says, "Oh, what about my cats?" And I go, "Leave the cats," thinking that this is a fire drill. Don't traumatize the animals over a fire drill. Well, I didn't know this, but Jeremy ran in and grabbed her cat and tucked it under his shirt. And he jumps in the car, and in the first go around, the cat was in there clawing the crap out of his chest. That's why I said leave the cat, because I knew her kitty was not going to react kindly to being traumatized through the drama that we were trying to put together for you guys. That's funny. To me, that was funny, because they didn't listen to the wisdom of Dad.
People watching the TV screen usually can say, it's like, you know, they're acting, that's all fake. And even the term reality show, people are just like, you know, no, they're making them do stuff. But, you know, there is a lot in the reality show that is reality. They try to get the, you know, your first impression is the most important to get the moment in there. And, you know, little acting is required, but it is real.
And like I said, I didn't mind looking stupid for you guys, because it was for the sole purpose, I put it in my mind, it was for the sole purpose of us learning and teaching you guys to learn from our mistakes. Now, if you tune into my YouTube channel, like what you're watching now, and you see all my videos, hey, I show you my triumphs, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to show you my failures, because I want to learn. I'm in the process of learning, and I'm learning from you guys. You know, I go to a YouTube channel, for instance, and I see a YouTuber, and they get all Hollywood, and then they fake things. I pick up on that fakeness, and I kind of like, okay, let's go watch something else. And I found the genuine homesteaders that show their mistakes, that show who they really are, and you can see their transparency. That's who I'm going to come back to time and time again. When my family and I decided to sit down, and we finally agreed, we sat down and had a family conference after I got contacted by the casting office, do we want to do that? They all agreed, yeah, let's do this, okay? You know, hesitantly. So I told them, okay, I have a YouTube channel. Okay, but here's the deal. I don't want the channel to be compromised in any way. I don't want the channel to be mentioned at all. Don't mention my channel at all through the whole production of the show. I want to keep this show separate from the reality show on the network. Now, there's a good reason for that. And there's a funny story that comes in. I'll share with you guys in a minute. But I told the family, be yourselves, be transparent, be honest. Do not hold back. Just be completely transparent, because the audience is going to see that. And I guess that's what makes our show one of the special shows, because what you see, what we gave you guys on the episode, that was really us. The tears on the roof, just with gratitude. I literally forgot the cameras were around, literally, because I was engaged with a conversation with Marty Rainey on the porch, and or on the roof, and I was thinking how grateful and humbled I truly was for this help. I mean, it really got me ahead big time, and stuff we really needed really bad. But the most important thing was, on the back porch, that scene at the end, that was genuine. That's not scripted. That was not created to be intentional like that. It was just like, it just evolved and it happened. I can't say it any other way. It just happened. It wasn't planned. And there was some things that happened off camera. This is like, it was funny. Standing here now. Let me take you on the back porch and show you. So I'm standing here, Jeremy's standing here, and Marty Rainey's standing right here next to me. Matt's sitting right over here, and Becky, my wife, is sitting right next to him, and there's Misty and Jamie over here. And then the film crew is over there where my camera is positioned now. And we're going through that scene, and it's just like, I was really touched by that. You know what Jeremy had, he was man enough to come out and say that to me, regardless of who was around, these strangers that were here, the camera. Of course, this is at the end, and they were here for 2 weeks, and we kind of got close to them. We really do miss them. We genuinely miss all of them. But I'm standing here and I'm talking and having a one-on-one, totally focused on Jeremy, and sincerely listening to what he had to say. And it's just like, that really tugged at my heart. I look down and there's tears in Misty's eyes, and there's tears in Jamie's eyes, and she got tears streaming down her face, and Jeremy and I were just embracing as just like a father and a son coming through some sort of a healing process. And that would not have been done if Matt had not spent time with Jeremy out in the duck hunting blinds, hunting goose. Jeremy was honest enough to come clean about his true feelings. And if that would not have happened, our relationship probably would have still been a struggle. So you see, I'm still being transparent with you guys. But what was funny was I'm standing here, the scene was going on, and over here I hear I turn and look, and Marty's emotional. The film crew, they're over there going, wiping their eyes, they were emotional. That was an intense scene, but that was non-scripted, that was real, that was honest. There was no mistake about it. My son and I have a wonderful relationship now. Now to explain, I covered this in a video before, but it bears explaining again. The producer and the director asked me to sit down at the kitchen table, set my laptop computer up, and my camera that I use to film my YouTube channels. I go, why? Oh, because we want you to bring up your YouTube show on your computer, and we want to film a little thing about your YouTube channel. And I go, no. Their reaction was priceless. After they picked their jaws up off the floor, and they go, why? Their reaction was priceless. I was sincere. I did not want my YouTube channel to be a part of the Discovery Network. That was a personal thing of mine. That is personal between you and me. That's for you guys and me. Because I wasn't sure at that point how the Homestead Rescue series was going to handle all of the film that they edited from the Hanson family. Still wasn't sure. In the end, it worked out. Marty came down the driveway and he mentioned, your show is going to take off. I didn't know what he meant by that. So after I watched the show, it looked like 4 different people mentioned my YouTube channel throughout the show. And this is weird. Every time this show airs, my viewership spikes for an hour and then it drops back down. And I see that spike and I go, oh cool, we're in reruns. But where? Because the show is showing all over the world. And sometimes I get viewers commenting from other languages which the YouTube doesn't translate. So I have to take and copy and paste that into Google Translator and translate what they said so I can understand what they're saying, and then I can reverse translate and I can send them a message and copy and paste in their answer in their language. And it's kind of cool because recently we've been airing in Brazil, South Africa, we've been in New Zealand, of course through Canada. Hey, Canadian is the one foreign language I can speak fluently. I have some cousins, nephews, and a brother that live up there. And here's the best Canadian I can go. What's that about, eh? Does that sound Canadian? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and got a view of the family and what we endured over the last 3 years, and you just continue watching our episodes and seeing how we evolve. Now, we are continuing to build the homestead, and some of it comes from the direct knowledge and wisdom we gleaned from Marty, Matthew, and Misty. So stay tuned for more videos from Pine Meadows Hobby Farm, a frugal homestead tucked high in the Cascade Ranges of the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, there's some interesting projects in the works. Stay tuned for those announcements. I'm keeping a tight lip on those. Please subscribe, click that bell icon that alerts you to new videos as I upload them. Also, if you would, please give us a thumbs up, like the show, and also leave a comment or a question if you would, in whatever language. I'll use Google Translator to translate it from. And please, always remember, be safe and always be kind. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.